Hello and welcome to this Snackability 2.0 video. This is the installation video. Quick outline of what we're going to do today. We're going to set up a text editor, install SQL and set up a SQL database, install the backend, install front end, and finally I'll show it running on the iOS simulator. Let's begin. So first I'm going to open up my editor of choice. I have Visual Studio Code here. You could use Atom or anything you like. I'm going to open the project. So file open. I have it on my desktop. Here I have Snackability 2.0, and I'm going to open up code. Actually, I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to open up these three files here. Okay. So I've got these open. Now, these two folders here represent the backend and front end, and this README is for the project structure. In each of these, though, I have another README that goes a little bit more into detail on the back end. So just looking at the folder structure here, you can see kind of what I was telling you, back end and the front end, and again, the READMEs in each folder. So let's open up that README for the back end. Okay, so here you'll find pretty detailed instructions on installing the backend. Here's the required software you'll need. Node.js is used for the backend and front end, so it's good to have. A text editor, again, I recommend Visual Studio Code. MAMP, this is used to start a SQL server. It's not necessary, but I strongly suggest it, so I put it under required. Makes it real easy to just start a SQL server, and of course MySQL Workbench so we could run some queries. Okay, so let's start creating the local database. So we're going to start a MySQL server using MAMP. So we're going to open up MAMP. This is MAMP. Now you don't want the Pro edition, you want the regular edition. Sorry, there's a plane going over. So before we click Start Servers, what we want to do here is go into the MAMP preferences, go over to the MySQL tab, go to the Ports tab, and in MySQL make sure that we have 3306 here. This is just kind of the way we configured it. Okay, so all we got to do is press Start Server. This will create a MySQL and Apache server, but we won't be using the Apache server. In the preferences, you can set it so it only starts a MySQL server, and you can do that yourself. So this will normally start up a web page. So let's see if so here it is. This web page gives you some information about your server, so it's good to know. Here you can see your user and password, which by default it should be root, and the host is localhost. So you don't really need to change these since this is a local database. No one's going to really be able to access it from the outside. But if you want, you can change these. Okay. Let's go back here again. So here's that information. So now we got to open up MySQL Workbench and connect to the server. So MySQL Workbench. Okay. So I have this already pre-selected here. I've already created one, but I'm going to create another one to connect to the same one so you can see how it goes. So call this local DB. You can call this anything you want. And the host name here, this is your local host, so that's fine. Password, you can store it in keychain, or it'll ask you every time. Another plane going by today, it's a busy day. Okay, under default schema, you'll see you can later populate this, and you can test connection. It's going to ask you for the password, which is root. And you'll see that we successfully made the MySQL connection, so you can click OK. So now just open this, and you've connected to the database. So you can see here that there is only a SCIS schema, so we need to create a new one. And in the instructions here, I have the exact queries you need to run to create everything you need. I need to run it in this order, so this one needs to be first, then snacks, then more snacks, and then ingredients. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Just click the blue folder. Go to navigate to the, so let's do it from the top here. Code, backend, server, DB, and here they are. Again, so schemas.sql first. This will create the snackability_2 schema with the attributes that we need. Click the lightning bolt to run. And I've got an error in my SQL syntax here. This is weird because I ran this earlier. Okay, that was strange. I didn't even change anything and it ran. So that should be fine. Click the refresh button here and you'll see that we have snackability_2 now. Okay, so let's run the next one. Snacks. This will add a certain amount of snacks from Snackability 1.0. Okay. Then we will run the more snacks. This will add a few more snacks. And then the ingredients.sql. This has a mapping of different ingredients that you can find in first ingredients to a certain category. So, for example, light milk is dairy or milk dairy. None of the words here have spaces. That's crucial because our backend handles it as if it didn't have any spaces. So, for example, canned anchovies is together, no spaces. So let's run that. Okay, so let's check this all worked. We can press Command T to create a new tab so we can run a query. Let's just select star from snackability_2. It's the name of the schema, .snack, the table we want to hit. Press a lightning bolt and you get your results. Okay, so there it is. Let's do the same for ingredients. And there they are. So if we see this, then we know that our database is populated and we're good to go. So let's go ahead, we can minimize MySQL Workbench. Okay, so again, to run the local database, you just open MAMP and press Start Servers. I've already done that, so I'll leave it running. And now let's run the backend. So first we got to make sure that the SQL server is running, and we did. And now let's check that the server/config/dbconfig.js has the correct information. So let's go there, server, config, dbconfig. So you look here, our host is correct, our user is correct, our port is correct. Very important because we set that in MAMP. And our password is root, and the database we want is snackability_2. And that's all good. And then here we have a socket path. That should be fine as well if you installed with MAMP. Perfect. So now let's go back into that README. Okay. So it's our first time running. So we will run npm install. Now, Visual Studio Code has a terminal built in. So I'll open a terminal for the backend. Okay. And all I've got to do here is type in npm install. So we let this run, and this will install all the node packages for our backend. Takes a minute usually. While this is going, I guess if you see any errors like this, just ignore them. The application will still install correctly. I guess while this is going, we can go a little bit through some of the folders here. The bin folder will just have some information about Babel. So this application uses Babel for compiling ES6 to ES5 or transpiling. Data cleaned has a CSV file with our database. The dist folder is generated whenever you run npm run start. And server here is kind of where our main application is in. So in the config, like we saw before, we have the db config. We also have our USDA API here. In the controllers, we have the snack controller, which is the main controller for snackability. And this will control different functions, searching. So here we search through our database for snacks, advanced search. You can read through all of this. Precision round will just round some of the information. In the DB, we have our SQL files that we saw before. In helpers, we have a conversion file. This will convert pounds to grams, or anything to grams here, ounces, tablespoons. Feedback.json, this file is pretty important. It contains all of the different feedbacks for score and for nutrients. So this will be the feedback that will come out if the score is between 1 to 5, or 6 to 7, 8 to 9, 10 to 11, and the nutrient will be, so if calorie score is the lowest, then it'll pick one of these. Okay, scoring algorithm.js is where we have our scoring algorithm, and it's just this function that is called. It's called within our SNAK controller. Okay. Actually, I think it's search helpers. Here we have our connection to the USDA database, so this is pretty good. So here's where we search through the brand food products in the USDA database and the standard reference API here. So those are functions that we use to get information from the USDA. In our routes, if you go to snack.js, we have our API routes. So I think in the index.js we start at, so it's /API /search or /local /USDA /advanced search, and these are the functions that it calls. Of course, you can always look through Node documentation and Express documentation to get an idea of how all this works. Okay, so our npm install here finished, and we're going to run npm start. Okay, so we're getting a error. Okay, so I did get an error. Luckily, I figured out what it was, and it had nothing to do with what we did. I just simply forgot to include a file into this directory that I should have. So you should have this now, because I included it, the .babelrc file. So I mentioned before we're using babelrc, and we need this so that it compiles to ES6 code. Since we're writing ES7. So let me give you, so what it said was, let's see if I could, I think it was in the app.js. It said it could not, so it was reading the app.js, it was trying to come in, and it said it couldn't understand this. Well, this is an ES6 import, and without Babel we can't run that type of code, so it didn't know what to do with this, but now I've included the babelrc file, and everything should be okay. So let's run npm. All we need to do is run npm run start again. Let's see if we get that error. Okay, so we don't. And if we come here and it says listening on port 4000, then our backend is running. So don't be afraid to Google anything if you get any errors. It could be something I forgot, like I forgot the babelrc file, but I don't think I forgot anything else. Okay, so let's go ahead and open our front end here, and let's try to get that running. Okay, so let's close out the backend stuff here. And let's open up the front end README. Again, detailed instructions on installing everything. So again, we need Node.js code editor. We also need Expo and Yarn. So I've got links here to get those too. Expo is going to be used to run our application on the device, and Yarn is just another package manager that runs on top of npm. So, okay, so let's run the application. So we got to ensure the backend is running. Okay, so that's running, and we got to do these things. Now, what I like to do in Visual Studio Code is I like to have one terminal that has the backend and another terminal that has the front end. So I'm going to split the terminal. Okay, and I'm going to navigate to the Snackability front end folder. Okay, so now I'm in the Snackability front end directory, and we're going to run yarn install. Okay, so now you just let that run, and again, like before, while it's running, I'm going to go through a little bit of the files here. Okay, so in our actions, we have all of the actions that our application can take. Now you'll notice some of these aren't used, but the most used one is the search actions. So for example, here we're calling the search with a snack, and this will call the search function, which is in another file that we imported that search function from this util.js file. In the components, this is where you'll find all of our React Native components. In common, we have some common components that we use throughout the app, so buttons, cards, this one's used a lot, card section is used a lot. Some of these are used more than others, spinners used. So Let's continue. Our pages here contains our pages. So we have the forgot password, our history page, our settings page, sign in. But you'll also find some pages down here as well. Here we kind of have sort of bigger components or general components. So you can look through each of these files. The important ones here are the search form, which is our search page. The search list and search list item deal with our history functionality. The SNAK detail view is our the view where you get your score. Now, notice there's a local SNAK view and a SNAK detail view. The SNAK detail view is for USDA items, and the local SNAK view is for local database items. So when you click on a local database item, a local SNAK view will spawn, and if you click on a USDA item, a SNAK detail view will spawn. The SNAK list and the SNAK list item are this is the list that represents the list of snacks when you search for one, and the SNAK list item is the list of snacks. Is the list of snacks that is the actual item in the snack. So, okay, we've got fonts. These are the fonts that we use. Images. We've got logo and backgrounds here. And our reducers, we have our React Native reducers. Now this is very important, the environment.js file. Now, this is a file that I am including, but you don't want to, you want to put this file in your git ignore. You don't want to commit this to git because this is how we put in our URL to our backend. So everybody might have different URLs for their backends because each computer has a different local IP address, and you can't just simply put localhost, so I had to create this environment.js file to kind of make it easier. But you don't want to give this to your other team members because then when they try to run, it won't work and they have to come in here and edit it. I've created a check here to make sure that this is changed. So to find your local IP here, what you want to do is you want to go into System Preferences, or if you're on Windows, you can go to your Networks panel, I think. So go to System Preferences. You can type in ipconfig in the console. That'll also work. But go to Network. And then you see here, I'm connected to the FIU Wi-Fi here, but you can grab that. Pop the period at the end. So we're gonna remove that period. And that's it. Save this file. Now this will connect our front end to our backend. Very important. In the router.js here, this is a very important file. We have our components. We have our router component. This is what controls the login, the tab bar items at the bottom of the application, and kind of what spawns. So if you notice, our main page is our home page. But you see, you'll have like, this will spawn a SNAK detail view or a local SNAK view, things like that. So this page is really important. Our util.js is also important. This is what makes our backend calls. Now you can kind of see here the backend URL will change, right? Your backend is going to change. So this is listing on port 4000. That's why you can see 4000. But before that, it's your local IP. And you can see kind of how we have our API structure here. So this function will just do a search. This will search for an advanced search. The NBNO will search for the USDA, the actual item. And local will also search for the actual item and calculate a score. Okay, so we've got our app.js here. We just load some icons and we initialize our Firebase here. It's in our login. Okay, perfect. So we've got our yarn install here running. So, and it finished. So to run here, I'm going to make this a little smaller. We're going to run, let's look at our README again, make sure I'm doing everything correct. We're going to run yarn start. Okay. All right. So if you get here to the page that has the QR code, you successfully ran the application. Okay, so now it's running, and we want to do an iOS simulator. So in the README here, I have some pages that'll take you to documentation on installing the iOS simulator. I suggest you do this. It makes it a little easier to kind of show things in your videos. And so, but you can also run it on your device. So we're going to press I, and hopefully that'll open the iOS simulator. So yeah, so there's the simulator opening. I've already got it installed, so it just opens. And hopefully the application will run. If everything's perfect, I didn't forget anything, which is probably not the case. Hopefully. Okay, so Expo's opening on our simulator here, and our JS file should begin opening, and hopefully there are no mistakes. Okay, so now you just gotta wait for the JavaScript bundle to build on the device. This can take, usually the first time it takes a little longer, then as you make small changes it doesn't take as long. Okay, so we're getting some warnings. Let's see what these warnings are. Okay. Should be okay. The application actually loads here, then we'll have it successfully running. If not, then we'll get a red page, and that'll be a good way to show kind of what errors look like as well. This does take a lot longer than I remember. But we're almost there. I guess since this is really fresh, it's taking a little longer. Let's see. Okay. All right. Good. So it looks like our application ran. And now we were already logged in. I have logged in on the emulator before, so it kind of just automatically logged me in, but we got into the app, so everything's running. These dependencies, they'll come and go. Really, I'm not exactly sure why they'd happen. They never really cause any problems. But sometimes I'll build and it won't have the warning, other times it will. I think it's just a quirk with Expo or something. Okay, so I think that's it for this video. Now, if I could only find my presentation, I was looking for... See? Okay, there it is. So, another plane coming by. Alright, so it looks like we did everything here in the outline. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach me or any of my team members. There's my FIU email address. I'll be checking that for probably a few months after. But I'll start forwarding everything to my actual email address after. You could also reach Dr. Masood Sujati or, of course, product owner or anyone. Hopefully I got your back end running and your front end, and have a good one.